So I have an interesting question for you. And that is, why are you at war with yourself? And how long have you been at war with yourself? How long have you been at war with yourself? It's something I've been asking myself recently as I've been reflecting on the state of our world, the state of society, the state of humanity. Why do we see so much external conflict? Why do we see wars increasing every year? Why is there so much chaos and conflict and disruption and separation and fear and anxiety and mistrust amongst us humans? Amongst us humans who are of the same species. And truly, when you think about it, we are all connected as a species, as a whole. And as this human family that we all come from the same tree. We're all branches and leaves coming from the same roots. So how long have you been at war with yourself? Because something I have come to find along my spiritual awakening journey over the last 7-10 years or so is that for the longest time, due to a very traumatic childhood, a traumatic upbringing, I learned from a very young age that it wasn't safe to be who I truly am, that it wasn't safe to express myself in the way that's most natural to me. I learned from a very young age that when I would use my voice, I would get in trouble. There would be backlash, there would be negative consequences to actually sharing my truth, actually speaking about what I feel to be true, what I see to be true, what I know to be true, my observations, my questions about why are things done the way that they are. Whenever I questioned rules of society, beginning with my own family, which when you think about it, your direct family is the first community, the first group that you ever experience. And so whatever dynamics go on in your family are the dynamics of behavioral patterns, the ways of relating to other people. Those are all the things that you absorb as a child directly from your own family. And so if there is any type of dysfunction, that's going to get ingrained in you. That's going to get internalized to the point where whatever went on in your family and what you learned to relate and how you learn to relate to them and to other human beings, and how you learn to relate to yourself, to your sense of self, to your identity within that family. There was a fly. Within that family system. That's what you as a child are going to internalize and basically generalize about the world itself and about relating to other people. So let's say in my case, for example, there was so much conflict within my upbringing, within my parents, my siblings, my direct family. I from a young age, when I was 13 years old, my parents got divorced, which was the first huge memory of chaos, of separation, of fear, of confusion, of disharmony. It was a real first example in my life of loss and separation and division within my own family system. And with that sense of division created a whole nother it created a whole slew of other symptoms, related to that first sign of division. So from there, with the chaos and confusion of a divorce, let's say, from there, there was drug addiction within certain family members. There was verbal abuse. There was physical abuse that I witnessed. There was I had a stepmother come in a year after the divorce, and that created a whole other uh, a whole other sense of war, a whole other sense of war within my own family system. From divorce to a remarriage to growing up in a cult, which is a whole another story. If you're curious about my experience growing up in a religious cult, you can check out the video that I have linked above. That's a really interesting story as well. So from divorce, from growing up in a cult, from witnessing all different types of abuse, from sensual abuse. I don't think I'm allowed to say the actual word on YouTube. Sensual abuse from another family member of mine, from witnessing physical abuse and verbal abuse and emotional manipulation, narcissism, disempowerment. All of these things left me terrified within my own home, my own upbringing, my own family. And family is the first community that we ever get to experience in this world. It is the first interpretation that we have towards how to be a part of a group, how to be a part of a system, how to be a part of a collective, which in theory is meant to protect and care for you and nourish you as you truly are in an ideal world. That is what community is for. It's to help you acquire the resources you need, whether they're physical resources, economic, and or emotional. Ideally, a community would be providing you with all of these types of resources. A community is meant to fertilize the soil with which you, let's say you're a tiny little beautiful seed. The community is meant to nourish the soil that is designed to help you bloom as your greatest, truest, most authentic, most powerful, most empowered self. To act on all your dreams, to be able to share your gifts unapologetically, and to really manifest what you came here to create in this world, your unique purpose, by sharing your gifts and your voice. That is how I view an ideal community. And so if you're somebody like me who grew up in a family system, in a church, in a school, in a group of friends, maybe you were bullied as a child. That was definitely my situation also. As a teenager, 13, 14 years old, my own best group of friends started to bully me and make comments that would tear me down and plant seeds of doubt and try to make me feel small and leave me constantly questioning myself, whether I did something wrong, whether I did something to upset them. I would often ask, like, why am I being made fun of? I'm just being myself, I'm just being my natural, playful personality. And I would often get made fun of. And now, as I've grown up, as I've matured, as I've healed, I've been able to gain a different perspective around these types of scenarios that really leave us feeling at war with ourselves from the inside out, and the internal war that I'm talking about, the war on the self, is an internal division. It's an internal sense of fragmentation. It's this constant internal questioning. It's being at war with your own inner critic. It's that voice in your head that's constantly planting those seeds of doubt. It's your own inner bully. And that voice really gets formed. More than anything, I would argue that voice really starts to blossom based on that first environment, that first community that you grow up in as a child. When you are most malleable, you're most susceptible, let's say. That word made me stutter a little bit. When you're most susceptible to outside influence, because you take everything that's said to you as truth. As a child, you're just starting to form your identity and your own understanding, your own worldview, your own perspective about how things work on this weird planet of Earth. So when those seeds of doubt, those seeds of self-criticism, self-punishment, self-denial, self-erasure really start getting planted in you from a young age based on your first experiences of community, it really starts to create this long-term war with the self. That's the best way that's the best phrasing I can use for this. War with the self. And if you are in a state of war with yourself constantly, you're beating yourself up, you're criticizing yourself, you're telling yourself you're not good enough, you're telling yourself, I can't accomplish this dream. There's no way. It's never going to make me money. My parents told me it's not realistic. My best friends questioned me when I showed them I was excited about this certain path. In my case, for example, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an opera singer. From like 5 years old, I wanted to be a singer. I was blessed with the gift of music, the ability to sing. It's one of my beautiful divine gifts. But from an early age, I got the messaging, I got the programming from all these external influences, especially the people who claim to love me the most. That's something to really pay attention to. The people who claim to love me the most, family, best group of friends, even teachers, certain teachers may have also planted seeds of doubt. And sometimes it's not from what they say directly to you. Sometimes the seeds of doubt get implanted based on what they do not say. Sometimes the seeds of doubt get implanted based on silence when it comes to your dreams, when it comes to your gifts, when it comes to your passions. Sometimes when you are sharing those things and they are met with silence on the other side by the people who claim to care about you the most, that can also be so deflating, incredibly deflating, disheartening, disappointing. And those reactions of silence also plant doubt. And so when you are in a constant state of self-doubt, self-criticism, self-punishment, basically denying yourself of the activities, the things, the hobbies that you love the most, you will constantly be walking around this planet hiding these beautiful truths. You will constantly be hiding your core, the real you, behind all the masks, all the protective masks, behind this public persona that we all create to protect ourselves. Because when we were younger, we were taught it's not okay to be me. When we were younger, we were taught it's not safe to be ourselves, because when we tried, we got criticized. When we showed that, the most vulnerable parts of ourselves, the most intimate, the dreamer part, that our passions, our dreams, our hopes, our wishes, our true voice, if those were often met not with support but with silence, or not with support but criticism, direct questioning, of course we are going to be at war with the self, because we didn't receive what was required from a young age to fertilize the soil that is meant to help us bloom as that true, beautiful flower that we all came here to be, the unique blossom, the unique flower that all human beings come here to be, by being their true selves and using their gifts and using their true voice to share their beautiful heart and their beautiful light with the world. So if we zoom out of my story, for example, and we start thinking about humanity as a whole, all our different cultures, everything that we're taught in society, I don't care what religion it is, I don't care what country you're from, if we zoom out and think about this idea of war with the self, starting with the family, starting with our first communities, how many of us are really walking around this planet hiding who we truly are? How many of us? Because imagine what this really creates on a large scale level. It creates a constant inner tension, a constant feeling that something is off, a constant feeling of frustration, whether you're working in a job that you hate, that is not a good use of your time and your gifts, but you're just doing it anyway because you think you're supposed to be doing it and you just got to pay the bills. Imagine that inner conflict that so many of us are walking around on this planet all the freaking time. Imagine the frustration and the inner resentment. Imagine the bitterness that gets created. The more you start to hide who you truly are, the more you start feeding that inner bully who's telling you, no, you can't do this. No, you're not good enough. No, you don't deserve to go for your dreams. No, you don't get to do what so-and-so over there is doing, even though you've got that same talent, even though you were born with that same gift and came here to shine. No, you don't get to do it. They get to do it. And we're just going to watch them and be jealous of them and maybe go and hate on them because somewhere along our paths, we got the idea in our head that so-and-so can go do that thing. So-and-so gets to go act on their dreams, but I don't. I have to do this. I have to stay small. I have to stay stuck. I have to work a dead-end job. I have to trap myself in an environment I hate, in a community I don't even vibe with. I have to fit in to things I don't even really want to fit into because I don't believe I'm worthy of more. I don't believe I'm worthy of joy. I don't believe I'm worthy of actually being happy by being my true self because I was taught somewhere along the way it was not safe to be me. But you know what? You get to change that. You get to change that. And you know how it starts? By listening to a message like this, by resonating with the truth of what these words are creating within you right now as you're listening to me. If these words are stirring something inside of you, then I know this message was meant to find you because you're ready to receive it. You are ready to start waking up to the truth of who you are. And if you're still resonating with this, I'm super freaking excited for you because this is just the start. And I'm here to tell you with my whole heart, you don't have to stay small anymore. You don't have to keep hiding anymore. If we all started to decide, hey, I don't want to be at war with myself anymore. I don't want to be at war with myself. Look how unhappy I am. Look how misaligned I am. Look at the life I created for myself, following other people's dreams and expectations and obligations and all their shoulda, coulda, woulda. I don't have to do that anymore. You know what? I want to change this life I've created for myself. If I could create this life that I kind of freaking hate, then I can also create the opposite. If I'm capable of creating this lifestyle that's not working for me anymore, I can also create something different. Because we truly are the creators of our own reality, and it starts with gaining this level of awareness of what's no longer working for you because it's not actually reflecting the truth of who you are. And once you gain that awareness, you can start to really reflect and decide, okay, well, I don't want that anymore. So what would I prefer? How would I actually like to be living? What types of dreams would I like to actually go for? And what are the smaller daily action steps that I can take to become that version of me who's actually happy, who's actually like loving life, who is so proud of the life they have created for themselves? What daily action steps do I need to start taking to actively make these changes? Knowing that it's not going to be an overnight new life. It is about deconstructing the foundation you laid for yourself in a lifestyle that doesn't reflect the truth of you are. You have to start dismantling that first. You have to start learning how to actually love yourself, you know? Stop feeding that inner bully. Tell it to shut the up. Yeah, I censored myself. Tell it to shut the F up, okay? You can thank it for trying to protect you, because that inner bully, it's just the ego, and it's designed to keep you safe in what feels familiar. But often what feels familiar are the very things that are keeping us stuck and small and stagnant and trapped in a role, in a lifestyle, in an environment, in a community, in a job that doesn't reflect the truth of who we are and is never going to help us actually grow in the ways we desire to grow. So you can thank that inner bully, you can thank that ego for protecting you from all that it knows, the familiar. It's protecting you from stepping out of that. Because stepping out of what's familiar is stepping out of the nest, stepping out of the nest of the comfort zone. And yeah, it's scary to leave the nest, but sooner or later, if you're someone who desires to grow, if you're someone who actually desires to create a life you love, because you get to be who you were born to be. You get to live in the way you were born to live by being the truth of who you are. If that's what you desire, sooner or later, this little nest that's been keeping you safe, it's going to get too small. It's going to get uncomfortable. Once something comfortable starts becoming uncomfortable, it's a great sign that you're ready to outgrow it. You're ready to fly and leave the nest. So I would love to see a world where we all stop being at war with the self. I would love to see a world where every single individual realizes you don't have to be at war with yourself anymore. And once you realize that, you don't have to be at war with others anymore. Once you learn how to create inner harmony, inner balance with yourself, because you are actually letting yourself be who you truly are. You're taking off the masks. You've stopped wearing this public persona that's not actually you. Imagine how amazing that will be when you start relating with people as you are. You don't have to fake it. You don't have to hide. You don't have to shrink. You don't have to be any other way. You don't have to pretend to be anything, anyone that you're not. Imagine a world where we all just get to be our true selves, and we get to find the people, find the communities, be received by those who truly see that and value that and love that. Instead of all pretending that we're happy in jobs and scenarios and environments and communities and friend groups and even families that don't accept the truth of who you are because they're at war with their selves. They haven't accepted the truth of who they are. So why are they going to accept you? And we can all do our part to start inspiring each other along the way. We don't have to be at war with each other. Once we stop being at war with ourselves, we can all actually lovingly walk each other home to the truth of who we are by starting with the self. Walk yourself home. That's what I want to leave you with. If you're still here listening, you're ready to walk yourself home. And I'm excited to make more content like this to help walk alongside you. So I just thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you for listening to this message that wanted to flow through me today. And if this resonated with you, if this has helped you in some way, I would love if you could comment, give this video a like. It really helps boost the algorithm. I really would love to get my messages, my channel out to more people and spread this impact, spread these messages. And if you'd like to stick around for the journey, would love if you would subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And also you can check the links in the description box below. I would love for you to join my newsletter. In there, I share more truth transmissions like this, but also in written form. And I also share content that's exclusive to the newsletter with more wisdom weaving, truth transmissions, channel messages, all kinds of goodies that is only shared on the newsletter. So I would love if you would join my community there. Thank you so much, my love, for listening. And you got this. Keep flowing and growing. We're on this wild, amazing, confusing, ever evolving human journey together. Okay? So I love you. Check out the rest of my videos. Check out my playlist for more truth transmissions like this. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.